Let's get right into it today. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder about those organs in your body that, well, just don't get a ton of the spotlight? I mean, we always hear about the heart, the lungs, the brain, but what even is the spleen, and why do you need one? It's one of those anatomy buzzwords we hear in medical dramas or a passing conversation, but if I pressed you on it right now, could you actually explain what it does, or even where it is? Don't worry, most of us can't. Well, today, we're going to fix exactly that. We're shining a spotlight on this total unsung hero of the human body.
Welcome to this explainer. I'm honestly super excited to guide you through this today as we dive into the spleen explained. We're going on a little anatomical journey, tracking down its macro location, literally figuring out where this thing is hiding, all the way down to its micro functions to see the heavy lifting it does for your health every single day. By the end of this, you're absolutely going to have a profound new appreciation for it.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Finding the Spleen. Now, to understand why the spleen feels so mysterious, you kind of have to understand just how deeply buried it is in there. It is totally hidden from immediate view. So imagine we're looking directly inside the human body, doing a sort of virtual dissection. You can't just open the doors and see it sitting right up front. Nope. First, you've got to move the big, bulky stuff out of the way. Let's start by taking out the liver. We remove that massive organ from the upper right side of the abdomen, but guess what? Still no spleen. We really have to keep digging.
Next up, we hit another major visual roadblock, the stomach. It's sitting right there in the center left of your abdomen, and it takes up a lot of real estate. So, sticking with our virtual dissection, let's just go ahead and take out the stomach too, moving it completely out of the frame. We're clearing out all these frontline organs, really tunneling our way to the back of the abdominal cavity. And here we go. Boom! There's the spleen. With the liver and the stomach completely out of the way, we can finally see it clearly. It was literally hiding behind the stomach the whole time. Honestly, it's such a cool moment when you strip away those larger anatomical structures and realize this crucial little organ has just been tucked away back there in the shadows, quietly doing its job. What's actually wild is how precisely we can map this out. Let's look at the anatomical coordinates so you can picture exactly where this is in your own body right now. First off, it's in the abdomen, but specifically, it's pushed way up against the diaphragm, that main muscle separating your chest from your belly. We can also see it sits firmly on the left side of the body. And here's the crucial part. It is tucked safely underneath and behind the protective bony cage of your lower left ribs, specifically ribs 9, 10, and 11. It literally comes with its own built-in armor.
Moving right along to Section 2, the immune fortress. Let's look at how it acts as a major central hub.
You see, the spleen doesn't just sit back there under your ribs taking up space. It is a remarkably busy organ. To get why we call it an immune fortress, we have to look at the soldiers stationed inside it. The spleen is just packed full of white blood cells. Specifically, it holds vast numbers of something called lymphocytes. These are specialized white blood cells that take up residence right inside the spleen, and they are absolutely crucial to the overall functioning of your immune system. They are your microscopic defenders, basically just lying in wait for any signs of trouble.
Now, the big question is what these lymphocytes actually do when that trouble finally arrives. Well, they execute this highly coordinated, three-step, almost military-like process. First, they produce antibodies. These are the targeted weapons your body needs to fight off invaders. Second, they actively respond to infection as it circulates through the bloodstream. And third, they produce the specific cells that will step in and completely destroy that infection. The spleen acts as the staging ground for this entire coordinated counterattack, keeping you healthy.
That brings us to Section 3, the recycling center. This is all about managing your blood supply.
But fighting off infections? That's really only half the story. The spleen's second massive yet totally overlooked function involves your blood. You might not know this, but red blood cells don't last forever. In fact, they have a surprisingly finite lifespan of about 100 to 120 days. Once they hit that mark, they become way too old and fragile to function properly.
And that actually leads us perfectly to a direct insight from our source material. To quote, they get broken down when they get a little bit too old and recycled. This is exactly where the spleen steps in as a highly targeted recycling facility. As all of your blood flows and filters through it, the spleen is actively checking the age and the health of those red blood cells. The second it detects cells that have hit that 120-day limit and are, getting just a little bit too old, it physically breaks them apart so their components can be safely recycled.
This whole process brilliantly illustrates the teamwork happening inside your abdomen. Think of it as a biological handoff. The spleen is basically the demolition crew. It breaks down the old red blood cells. But it doesn't process all that waste on its own. The byproducts of this breaking down and recycling phase are then passed directly down the line to the liver. The liver receives these recycled breakdown products and continues processing them for the body.
Which leads us to a biological punchline that you are definitely not going to forget anytime soon. So, what actually happens to all those recycled breakdown products once the liver gets them from the spleen? Well, to make a long story short, it makes your feces brown. No, really. The brown color of human waste is the direct, ultimate result of your spleen successfully breaking down old, expired red blood cells and passing those recycling byproducts straight through your digestive system. It is slightly gross, sure, but an undeniably fascinating physiological fact that literally connects the whole process together.
So let's wrap this all up with a final thought for you to chew on. Next time you think of your immune system, will you remember the spleen? We virtually dissected the body to find it hiding under those lower left ribs. We've seen how it serves as an absolute fortress for lymphocytes to produce antibodies and destroy infections. And we've uncovered its secret life as a high-tech recycling center for aging red blood cells. It is doing incredible work for you every single day. I really hope this explainer gave you a clear, vivid understanding of this brilliant little organ. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.